Coming up in the morning edition.
The weekday curfew, Monday to Friday, will now be from 7 p.m. nightly to 5 a.m. the following morning.
The Prime Minister announcing new COVID-19 measures for New Providence and Abaco. Also,
once these businesses reopen, tourism product is back up and running again, then they are sure they job.
The Labor Director responding to a demonstration by hotel workers. And
I take a lot of time to research my craft.
One of our own here at the Broadcasting Corporation putting her artistic talents to good use. Those stories and more when the morning edition comes right back.
Pandemic, it is our duty to ensure that all citizens, residents, and visitors are adhering to the COVID-19 safety protocols. Not wearing a face mask is an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $200 or a term of 1 month imprisonment or both fine and imprisonment. I am Ambassador Jasmine Scott of the COVID-19 Enforcement Unit. Save a life that may be your own.
This message brought to you by the Ministry of National Security in conjunction with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
Andros is the #1 bone fishing destination on our planet. Sports fishermen visit our flats every year to participate in one of the most fulfilling outdoor activities known to man, fly fishing. And guess what? It's 100% sustainable. Without areas like the west side of Andros, sustaining this industry would be absolutely impossible. So let's take care of nature, and nature will take care of us.
good morning, everyone. I'm LaDawn Davis. Thank you so much for tuning in. The Ministry of Health confirming in its latest dashboard Wednesday night that there are 81 additional confirmed cases of COVID-19 here in the Bahamas. Another 77 here in New Providence, 2 in Grand Bahama, and the other 2 are pending. This brings the total number of confirmed cases to 4,713. The death toll remains at 102, while an additional 70 have recovered, bringing that number to 2,607. The worst crisis the Bahamas has faced in its modern history is how Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, is describing the current COVID-19 pandemic. The Prime Minister acknowledged that health officials are very concerned about the daily increase in COVID-19 cases in Abaco and here in New Providence, with 1 in 100 New Providence residents testing COVID-19 positive. And as we approach a holiday weekend, the Prime Minister announced that a full weekend lockdown will come into effect to reduce infections and, most importantly, save lives. Here's Altavice Munnings.
The common denominator for health officials, limiting community spread. It's for that reason that the competent authority, Prime Minister the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, has implemented a full 24-hour weekend curfew for New Providence and Abaco only. It begins this holiday weekend, Friday, October 9th at 7 p.m., ending at 5 a.m., Tuesday, October 13th.
No food stores, pharmacies, gas stations, construction sites, or laundromat will be permitted to open or operate during the full 24-hour weekend curfew. To the extent, Mr. Speaker, that this is not already the case, food distribution by the National Food Distribution Task Force will be tailored to take place during weekdays. For New Providence and Abaco, the weekday curfew, Monday to Friday, will now be from 7 p.m. nightly to 5 a.m. the following morning.
That also means no social gatherings will be allowed. In fact, residents can now call 702-9967 through 9 to report any social gathering taking place during the curfew. Religious services can take place, though, based on Bahamas Christian Council guidelines approved by the Ministry of Health. Churches can also open weekly for individual prayer. Only 10 persons, in addition to the officiant and the mortuary personnel, can attend a funeral at the graveside. Wakes and repasts will not be permitted. There are similar protocols for weddings. Only 10 people can attend in addition to the officiant, with no wedding receptions allowed. Restaurants can only provide takeaway, curbside, and delivery services. There is no indoor or outdoor dining on New Providence and Abaco for now. All retail stores can only offer curbside services except for food stores. Gas stations are also not permitted to provide in-store services. All of this during the first week of the new academic year for public schools.
I also wish to announce that schools on New Providence and Abaco may only proceed via virtual means. For now, there will be no in-person schooling for students. I also wish to advise that beaches and parks on New Providence and Abaco will once again be closed. Exercise is permitted in one's neighborhood Monday to Friday between the hours of 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Exercise on the weekend may take place only within an individual's yard. Unfortunately, gyms will once again be closed. I acknowledge that they were only very recently opened. We will try to open them again as soon as possible.
Health data shows that the workplace is a COVID-19 hotspot. The Prime Minister indicated that public officers will be instructed by their permanent secretaries to work from home, and cabinet ministers will also work from home in quarantine. The Prime Minister also encourages employees who can work from home to do so. He added a strong appeal to those businesses that are not complying with health and safety guidelines to do so immediately.
All fines for breaching health protocols, except for the mask violations, will be doubled. To encourage compliance with public health protection measures, there will be an amendment to the Emergency Powers Order that causes businesses to be closed for business on their second violation of the order. They will be closed for 14 days. If a business or construction site has an infection rate of 10% of the full staff complement, the business or construction site will be closed, and all staff members will be quarantined for the prescribed incubation period of 14 days.
Altaviz Munnings, ZNS Network News.
The Prime Minister also commending Grand Bahama and the Family Islands for keeping confirmed COVID-19 cases low in their communities. Excluding New Providence and Abaco, there are 840 positive COVID-19 cases.
Viral numbers are low in these places. Therefore, regular life and businesses can proceed with greater normalcy. Residents on these respective islands are to be commended. I highly encourage the residents of Grand Bahama and the Family Islands to keep complying with the public health advice of mask wearing, physical distancing, and proper sanitization. The more they do so, the more we will be able to live with few restrictions.
Liberal Party leader, the Honorable Philip Davis, responding to the Prime Minister's announcement about the weekend lockdown that begins on Friday here in New Providence and Abaco. He said the country needs a plan to handle this virus.
I think it's an act of punishment. It's an act of, it feeds into the narrative that Bahamians are not cooperating. And I share a different view. The measures are coercive. Coercion is not the way. Seeking to get cooperation is the way, in my view.
In a statement, the Free National Movement Party criticized the opposition leader's comments. According to the release, during the first wave of the pandemic, lockdowns reduced the country's cases to the lowest level, particularly in Bimini and Grand Bahama. The FNM statement concluded saying that the Prime Minister is calm, listens to the experts, and he consults, noting the PLP leader would be well advised to pay attention. Officials of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation also responding to the Prime Minister's announcement. Chairman Crystal Rutherford Ferguson offered some of the alternatives to restricting business.
There were steps taken to balance the immediate health concerns with the economic concerns. However, the effect of what was announced with regard to the curfew will present some challenges for the business community. And with regard to those challenges, we are concerned that the announced restrictions may result in the unintended consequences of overcrowding at businesses, which may in effect lead to virus spread. Retail businesses will be impacted as there are some practical issues regarding limiting its commercial activity to curbside pickup only without including appointments. We acknowledge that many of our members are not able to offer delivery and curbside pickup due to the nature of the goods and services they offer. Furthermore, with regard to restaurants reverting to takeout, curbside pickup, and delivery only, in addition to prohibiting indoor and outdoor dining, it means that their revenues will be negatively impacted.
Now, minutes after the new restrictions were announced, New Providence residents made a mad dash to the stores to get an early start on preparing for the weekend lockdown. Desmond Saunders got some mixed reactions.
Local residents reacting to the new COVID-19 restrictions expected to reduce the escalating COVID-19 cases impacting the Bahamas. The streets of New Providence, a beehive of activity today. This Water Depot on Abundant Life Road reporting an increase in sales and activity as a result of the new measures.
From yesterday, we had a only traffic.
Give me an idea of how many persons you've served so far for this morning.
I can't count. 23:45. I can't go, but I know it's plenty.
Now, hours after the Prime Minister announced new COVID-19 restrictions, scores lined up at this Quality Market food store in the Eastern District, hoping to stock up on essential grocery items.
I'm trying to do a little shopping and stock up for my family before the lockdown comes. I know it's here already. I think it's necessary because we need it. The cases are getting too high, and we need to save a lot of these deaths that are occurring.
Economically, our domestic economy, financially, Bahamians, it's causing us to suffer.
The new restrictions also impacting local fitness facilities. After weeks of closure, local gyms like Empire Fitness will have to close its doors until further notice. Fitness pro Raynard Ferguson and gym patron Marcia Evans-Roll sharing mixed reactions.
I understand that he wants to restrict and minimize social gatherings. I do, and I really understand it's coming from a safety measure perspective, but at the same time, I think that there are steps that could have been taken prior to a complete shutdown. I mean, there's different points that could have been taken, restrictions on the number of persons in the gym. You know what I mean? It's just different things before a complete shutdown. Because one thing we know for sure is that what a quarantine does is that it's forcing a lot of people to get further out of shape, right? Persons are now being forced to stay home, and you're not necessarily consuming food because you're hungry, you're eating because you're bored. What else am I to do? What the gyms did was it allowed us to exercise. Exercise is good for your health.
Well, I just actually started this gym membership. That's a big blow for me because, you know, when you start something mentally, you got to keep going. Oh, I'm going to do whatever I can do, you know, because my footsteps is not ordered by me, it's ordered by God.
Desmond Saunders, ZNS Network News.
The Cabinet Office announcing the Ministries of Public Service and National Insurance, the Department of Inland Revenue, the South Beach Post Office, the Public Service Commission, and the National Sports Authority were all temporarily closed for deep cleaning and sanitization due to staff members testing positive for COVID-19. Operations at the Ministry of Public Service and National Insurance and the Public Service Commission will resume today. The National Sports Authority will reopen on October 14th. Inland Revenue's Carmichael Road headquarters is closed until further notice, and the South Beach Post Office will reopen on October 20th. As we continue to wait for a vaccine, many who have contracted COVID-19 are wondering why the recovery time lasts so long. Well, Director of the National HIV and AIDS Infectious Disease Program, Dr. Nakia Forbes, gave this breakdown on what happens in an infected person.
When someone gets COVID-19, they're infectious even before they start to have symptoms. That's very important when we think about the fact that people can look fine, but they could still have COVID-19 or be infected with SARS-CoV-2. That's the virus that causes COVID-19. They can spread it to others. Those people that develop symptoms, it's going to be somewhere in what we call the incubation period. That varies, but on average, it's about 5 to 8 days after they come in contact with it. It can be as high as 14 days. But that being said, the incubation period is that time in which someone has the infection, but they have not yet started to exhibit symptoms. When they start to exhibit symptoms, they're infectious in that time period. Usually most infectious, based on our understanding, when they have the most symptoms, a high fever, cough, runny nose, is probably when they're the most infectious. This usually is in the first days or maybe a week when they first contract COVID-19.
Now, there remains no cure for COVID-19, but Forbes notes the body can overcome COVID-19. She explains what it means to be recovered and when a person can no longer transmit the virus.
People who have a normal immune system, who have mild to moderate COVID-19, it is 10 days from the start of their first symptom, and at least 3 days from since the last symptom with significant improvement of their fever has gone away, their cough is not worsening, they have no ongoing diarrhea, abdominal pain, muscle aches, and chills, for example. Okay? And for people who have a normal immune system, we can use that definition to say that they are recovered from COVID-19 and should no longer be infectious. This period of time is different for people who may have had a more severe illness or who may have an impaired immune system. Say, for example, a patient who is a cancer patient on chemotherapy, or they are on high-dose steroids and they have a worse course. If they're sicker, then the definition is 20 days from since the first symptom, and again, at least 3 days from since the last major symptom.
COVID-19 has also impacted a number of healthcare workers. In fact, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Pearl McMillan said 243 were affected at last report. She says these numbers are a major concern for PAHO and the WHO.
The other challenge is that the healthcare workers, because of the high prevalence of COVID-19 in the community, they sometimes have patients within the healthcare setting who are initially not recognized as being infected, and there have been many healthcare workers infected in the Bahamas. They are also possibly exposed within their own communities, that they're not isolated within the hospital or the clinic setting. So the risk to healthcare workers is great.
Well, we're back in the area of Robinson Road this morning. Traffic's flowing nice and smoothly in this area. On the other side of the break, a look at overnight traffic as well as what drivers need to know when traversing the roads on those family islands.
a part of all our lives. ZNS TV is where we go for information, entertainment, and enjoyment. ZNS is there with something for everyone.
Kids, lunch is ready.
ZNS TV, a part of our lives for 40 years.
Allen in the Morning Edition traffic team is standing by with your Thursday morning traffic commute. Good morning, Lloyd.
The traffic report is sponsored by Bahamas First. First in insurance. Today, tomorrow.
Well, again, good morning, Ladon. Good morning, Bahamas. It's a great start to your Thursday morning, and we're giving you your first look at traffic. This one coming in near the area of Market Street and Robinson Road. Already, traffic is nice and smooth in this area, and so, of course, if you need to traverse this area, you can do so with caution and with care. This morning, we're also joined by Sergeant Crestania Johnson from the Royal Bahamas Police Force Traffic Division, giving us an initial look at overnight traffic.
A pleasant good morning to you and a pleasant good morning, Bahamas. Well, overnight, we've had 12 traffic accidents, 11 of which involved damage and 1 involving injury. At this time, we've had 6 persons hospitalized as a result of being involved in a traffic accident.
Now, Officer Johnson, I know just yesterday there was a major traffic incident near the area of Nassau Christian Schools. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So yesterday morning, a traffic accident occurred, on Soldier Road near NCA School. And what happened at that particular location, 6 persons were injured from that one accident. So as a result of that, we're advising as much as possible for the general public, once you're traversing the streets, to do so with added care and caution. And let's talk a little bit more about what that added care and caution is. When we think about this, but added care and caution, you want to drive based on the road condition or the weather condition for that particular area. We know some road works are being conducted throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, so we're advising as much as possible for drivers to pay attention. So if you're in any of those areas that have roadworks going on, you want to traverse the street, you want to look and be vigilant of not only vehicular traffic, but pedestrian traffic. And as much as possible, adhere to the rules and signage that's posted in that area to assist you.
And additionally, before we close up today, speaking about road conditions on islands like Eleuthera, of course, we know the Glass Window Bridge in that area can get a bit rough sometimes. And throughout the other islands, rain and other conditions can affect conditions while on the road. What advice do you have for motorists when using those out-island roads?
Well, what is of note? Like I mentioned before, we have 6 persons that are hospitalized. Of those 6 persons that are hospitalized, 4 of those individuals came from the Abaco Islands. And just recently, we had persons who were airlifted from the Eleuthera Island to come to the Providence Island to receive medical attention as a result of being involved in a traffic accident. We also had a fatality coming from the Eleuthera Island just several weeks ago. So what we see is just an increased speed going on in those areas, because speed has contributed and inattention. So as much as possible, again, like I stated, you're driving for those road conditions. Based on your road condition that you're dealing with, if you're dealing with wet road conditions, if you're dealing with where, like I said, the pavement is disrupted or you have more gravel on the street, as much as possible, you want to slow down. Even if there's a set or specified speed limit for that area, you're going to travel, you say, okay, my speed limit is 30 miles per hour. You want to consider traveling probably at 20 miles per hour, even 15 miles per hour to assist you better as a driver. If you're going to take a curve, you want to slow down on that curve, especially if it's raining or especially if road work is being conducted. Remember, you talk about maintenance of vehicles. When you maintain your vehicle, this also encompasses your tires, making sure your tire has sufficient tread, especially to affect your braking and your braking distance and time. You also want to make sure that your windshield wipers and your headlights are in proper working condition, all to assist you, especially when you're traveling at night or traveling early in the morning. So as much as possible, you want to pay attention to these small minute things that we don't pay attention to on a regular basis, because these situations, these factors can play a pivotal role in whether your accident is very serious or very, very, very minimal.
And then finally, of course, here at this intersection of Robinson Road and Market Street, of course, persons know it's a dual carriageway. But if you're not familiar with this area, of course, you'd want to choose your lane, whether you're going eastbound or if you're going westbound. And that'll make it easier for the drivers around you to navigate as they, too, are going to their various destinations. That's been a look at your Thursday-Friday report from the intersection of Market Street and Robinson Road. For the morning edition, Lloyd Allen and Officer Johnson. LaDon, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Lloyd. Well, the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources, the Honorable Michael Pintard, will deliver a national report during a virtual press conference at 5 o'clock this afternoon. Tune into the ZNS network and our social media platforms for live coverage of that event. A major protest held on Wednesday by furloughed hotel workers who are asking for an end to ongoing employment uncertainty. According to a labor official, a recommendation by the Tripartite Council to the government in July paved the way for an amendment to the Employment Act, allowing companies to go beyond the 12-week or 90-day mark without making a position redundant or offering a severance package. As it stands, they say a furloughed employee may remain as such for up to 30 days past the end of the current emergency order. Director of Labor John Pinder says he supports the legislative move as it protects the future of workers.
For me personally, I believe it's in the best interest of those employees to remain in the extended layoff position and take advantage of the unemployment assistance program that the government has implemented at NIB. Simply because once these businesses reopen, tourism product is back up and running again, then they are sure of a job.
Officials at the National Health Insurance Authority expanding its primary health care services in a bid to enhance the patient experience while delivering more value for money on health care. We're joined live in studio this morning by Chairman Dr. Robin Roberts. Dr. Roberts, welcome to the Morning Edition.
It's great to be here.
Dr. Roberts, I think you have gone on record saying this move is one of the greatest initiatives in the history of health care in this country. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yesterday we launched our primary care transformation initiative, and we are looking at expanding our current primary health care package. And I think you have to see where we are now so that you can really appreciate the extent to which our initiative will really transform our healthcare services. Well, today, as of today, we have some 86,000 Bahamians and residents who are enrolled in our current health insurance primary care program. We extend across some 5 islands in which we cover some 17 islands with our primary benefit package. We also have some 95 healthcare providers, along with 5 labs that extend across some 13 different locations. The public seems to be extremely pleased with our progress so far. They give us a 90% rating in our over 10,000 polling of our patients. And even more important, I think, to us is earlier this year, we truly launched our electronic health records. And this is really, I think, is going to take us into the next century. Because, you know, when it comes to improving health care, such that we providing it in the most efficient and effective manner, you can't manage what you can't measure. And that is what the healthcare records are allowing us to do. Because we have placed all the patients' records, not only the physician notes, but all their laboratory data and all the imaging information is now digitalized. We no longer have paper records, which makes it great access for the physician wherever they are, but it also makes it great access for the patient because they can also go on their patient portal. They can see where their records are, what's currently on the information, who is having access to it or who they allow to have access to it, and they can make appointments, and they can also educate themselves. The physicians love it because in addition to the ease of use, they also can they also can use it for telemedicine, so they can reach their patients out in the Family Islands. And we really want to assure our patients that we have optimized the security and the confidentiality. The eClinicalWorks is an established global entity with regards to electronic health records. They have some 130 physician and nursing practitioners who are using this across some 850,000 enrollees and over some 80,000 institutions. We're in the cloud. Our servers are stationed in Boston, and it's encrypted such that the patient has the direct access, and only the physician and who the patient allows to see their records can have access to their records. So we're very pleased with that. And so we want to extend our current package of primary care benefits to the betterment of our healthcare system, both in the private and public sector. As you know, that right now, primary health care in the government sector is fragmented. We have it both in the public health system, we have it in the Public Hospitals Authority, we now have it in NHI, and then you have people paying for their primary care services out of pocket, and then you have the private insurance industry with their primary care benefits. And so what we're making the proposal to the government that they unite these three units under the government's umbrella, and that they will all be under the National Health Insurance Program. We'll have access to our electronic health records, and we will have the benefit of being able to secure our primary care services that we also have in the private sector. As you know, most of in fact, all of our 86,000 enrollees right now are actually registered in the private sector, and they have private practice physicians. And so we are saying to the government, we can take your physicians as well that you have in primary care, that we can include them in our public-private partnerships, such that we will reduce the load that you have in your clinic. In addition, as they extend into the private sector, that you will reduce the need or the demand on your public-private primary care facilities. So your capital expenditure will be less, your operational expenditure will be less. And in fact, when we projected, we are looking at saving the government almost $60 million over the next 5 years. We've also said to the private sector that we would like to use our standard package of benefits to be available for you as a part of your benefit package to your patients enrolled in your private sector facility, as well
Dr. Roberts,
as you have in our patient record system. And so we believe very strongly that this will definitely advance the care that you have. And definitely then, I just want to sum up and say that we will then have, in essence, the entire population in the Bahamas under our electronic health records. So at a hit of the button, we'll be able to look at how disease is distributed in the country, where it is, and then we can implement those programs. And I think we can successfully look at curbing the non-communicable diseases that are ravaging our society.
Dr. Roberts, thank you so much for joining us here on the Morning Edition, and best of luck to NHI. Meantime, officials are working to create a site to test the efficiency of a sex offenders registry. This nearly a year after regulations in this regard were tabled in Parliament. National Security Minister, the Honorable Marvin Dames, recently disclosing that this too will require funding.
We have to find a location, and we also have to staff it up. And so with that in mind, we're looking at piloting a location, certainly before the year is out, to test the effectiveness of it. And we will move from there to introduce additional locations throughout the country as needed.
As for other investments like the much talked about Marcos Alert system, Dames had this to say.
All of the billboards have been installed, and they are presently going through a testing phase as we speak. In respect to our ankle bracelet project, we are in the vendor testing phase, and will announce a winning bid sometime this month. In respect to our multi-agency drones program, we are quite active in respect to that program, and we expect our first delivery of drones on October 12th this month. In respect to our criminal security and justice program, the Tenders Board process for the digitization and the modernization of the court's integrated case management system has commenced, and we expect to sign a contract sometime this month.
Illegal fishing in Bahamian waters has been a problem for quite some time now. While the problem may have been slowed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and border closures, poaching still persists. Carla Palmer tells us this morning that the Royal Bahamas Defense Force is on it, employing every resource available.
Two separate arrests last month by the Royal Bahamas Defense Force saw several persons hauled before the courts for illegally poaching in Bahamian waters. It's long been a common threat towards the sustainability of our marine resources, but it's one head of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, Commander Raymond King, is confident he and his team of officers and Marines will continue to overcome.
We understand that as COVID restrictions are relaxed in our neighboring countries, we anticipate now that their vessels, as demonstrated in the most recent arrest, would now seek to come in and poach, and we're ready.
This is good news to these fishermen, Gregory Brown, Todd Kemp, and Jeremiah Roll.
It was very, discouraging to see what they catch on the boat, and it's a real stiff penalty that the government gave them, and it should have been a little bigger for them. And now send the real word out to let them know that don't you come in to the Bahamas and touch our little kids.
Normally see them from time to time, and I just basically stay away because they poaching in our waters, and God knows what weapons they may have to retaliate on me.
Some of us, we call the defense force in that area and let the defense force know that, well, we see a boat in east, west, north, or south. You all will have to go check it out, which in these some don't. But for those who does call the police, like defense force, they doing a big help.
With a fleet of 28 vessels, several aircraft, and other complementary equipment, Commodore King says he and his team are committed to protecting our borders, utilizing an overlapping maritime security strategy, and not relying on one use of technology.
We're not doing it alone. We're working jointly with the United States government, tens of their Coast Guard vessels from Key West and Sector 7. We're working closely with the OBBAT program. It's a tripart agreement with the Turks and Caicos and the United States. And we're also working along with the Cuban Border Patrol, who provide very useful intelligence to our operations. And we're also working closely with the Belize Marine Unit. So it's a joint effort to increase our capacity, capabilities, and to use it as a force multiplier.
Commodore King says they are awaiting the receipt of additional equipment to aid in its border control fighting efforts. Several drones that have been ordered are reportedly expected to arrive sometime this month. Carla Palmer, ZNS Network News.
As we continue our series on frontliners in the Defense Force, we shift today for a session in the galley with an officer committed to chefing it up in the kitchen. Here's Lloyd Allen.
25-year veteran Chief Petty Officer Andre Newbold is arguably one of the most well-known faces at the RBDF Coral Harbor Base, not just for his mastery in the kitchen, but for having a heart of gold. Considered a gentle giant, Newbold operates with the mentality that all guests to the cafeteria, or galley, as it is known in the military, are treated like family. And like any good chef, over the years, Newbold's food has spoken for itself.
I cooked from a child, but I started off as a seaman. And my culinary skills got noticed by a lot of the captains of the boat. And they made a suggestion that led me to working in the galley.
Charged with organizing meals for Marines on duty, Newbold has created an interesting mix of options that are both nutritious and delicious.
Sometimes we cook Bahamian, sometimes we cook international dishes, Creole, sometimes jerk chicken, Jamaican, sometimes we do Italian dishes, lasagna, spaghetti. And, you know, standard Bahamian meals like today we're doing lamb chop.
That organizing meals for the 3 cafeterias on base can sometimes take some juggling. These include the North and South Gate and the Senior Rates Galley, servicing some 1,500 plus officers.
But this is the main hub where most of the food comes out of. For me, when persons compliment me on my meals, that also makes me feel a whole lot better. So I really love getting into this, you know, cooking and ensuring that everybody has a good meal.
One might even wonder what Newbold is like at home with his wife and 7 children.
At my house, everybody cooks.
He says being a dad is one of his greatest joys, and his children celebrate their hero every chance they get.
On career day, most of them want me to dress them up as a chef.
Newbold says he has committed much over the years and is grateful for the chance to be recognized for his efforts.
I work really hard and I give a lot, and for the most part, I didn't even know it was recognized. It made me proud to realize that people actually noticed me.
His superior, Kingsley Smith, agrees Newbold is a trendsetter for the galley staff and a Marine like no other.
The attitude that he picked up, I don't think he got it from here. I think he came in here with an attitude. And it just festered while he was in his job.
Keeping the mood relaxed and productive, a day in the kitchen, according to Newbold, is not a day at work. It's simply another chance to do what he loves. Lloyd Allen, ZNS Network News.
Thanks a lot, Lloyd. Stay close. The Morning Edition is back right after this.
Normal to feel overwhelmed, lonely, scared, or sad during a crisis. Coping can be difficult when your daily schedule is interrupted. Drinking may feel good, but is not the best way to cope with stress. It can worsen your mental and physical health and impact your family. So how can you cope? Keep physically active, like taking a walk or dancing. Cook and eat nutritious food, including fruits and vegetables. Engage in indoor activities like playing games and staying connected with family and friends. Meditate, encourage yourself, or enjoy music. Still feeling overwhelmed? We are here to listen. This message is brought to you by these partners.
The outbreak of COVID-19 has created opportunities for growth and blended learning from many schools across this country, with teachers and students heavily relying on the internet to carry out teaching lessons on a daily basis. Availability for the internet is essential. But as Jay Philippe tells us this morning, some schools over in Grand Bahama are already having some challenges.
Electronic learning platforms have become the new way of teaching in a COVID-19 environment, but a number of private schools on Grand Bahama are already experiencing challenges with the internet service. In an interview with General Manager in the Northern Service for Rev and Alive, he noted that the issues were as a result of failure of an air-conditioned unit in New Providence in which some equipment overheated. Consequently, the issues impacted teachers and students in the classroom and at home.
The internet has been quite unstable, and obviously, you know, that affects when we're using Zoom and other web-based applications. That has serious effects on those type of technologies. So we've been basically having a lot of drops in our network connections and the internet connections. You know, it's been basically up and down, really sporadic. And that's certainly been hard on the school as far as getting the virtual education across.
It really does affect the virtual learning, especially because you need
need the internet. And so I've had some of my classes where I told them, just log off, don't worry about class because it's not enough bandwidth for me to be online teaching in a conference, a video conference, because every 3 seconds it drops. And I come back, can you hear me? I spend more time asking the kids if they could hear me than I did teaching.
We have heard from some of our parents, though, and our students that they may have had some issues here or there. They would contact the school when that's happening. Either, one of myself or one of the vice principals, they would let us know. We would send messages to our students via chat groups, emails, etc. And our teachers have very much been working with our students. We realize that many persons are using the internet all at once, and that causes strain. And so then that you will have some times when there may be difficulties getting on, etc. And so it's just a matter of being compassionate, being understanding, and working through the issues together.
Computer science teacher at Tabernacle Baptist Academy, Nolan Dawson, says he hopes that a lesson was learned for internet service providers moving forward.
In my personal and professional opinion, I don't think our country is prepared from an internet standpoint for what has happened. So I don't really place all the blame on BTC or Cable Bahamas, because no one expected this. No one really expected this level of a pandemic to happen. No one expected the internet infrastructure to be used the way it's used right now, because it's being used, massively. So they couldn't have expected what was going to happen right now. What I would suggest, I hope to see them take this experience as a lesson and actually upgrade the infrastructure to be prepared for anything that happens like this next time.
Educators say that adjustments had to be made rather quickly as the issues were beyond the control of the school and students.
You have to understand that this is out of their hands. There's not much that they can do if they don't have the internet access. What some of the teachers have done, what I have done is we tell them, take a picture of it, handwrite it, take a picture of the work, and send it in a WhatsApp group to us so we can actually see the work and mark it and grade it from there.
The Anglican system have been very proactive in having Cable Bahamas come into all of our schools and put in the fiber internet lines. So we're expecting that very soon the internet challenges that we're having will be completely resolved when that fiber line is completely installed and we have all of the equipment necessary.
I'm Jay Philippe, ZNS Network News.
Thanks a lot, Jay. Don't go anywhere. The Morning Edition is back right after this.
Ministry of Health wishes to advise members of the public that prevention is key during this flu season. Practicing good cough hygiene can make the difference between you and your loved ones getting the flu or spreading the influenza virus. Good cough hygiene habits include covering your mouth and nose with a tissue when coughing or sneezing, and proper disposal of the tissue in a trash bin. Coughing or sneezing into your upper sleeve near your inner elbow and not your hands when a tissue is not available. Avoiding the use of handkerchiefs and towels as they hold germs, becoming a nest for the virus. And frequently washing your hands with soap and water, which is listed as one of the most important steps you can take to avoid getting sick and passing the virus on to others. If you have any questions about how to practice good cough hygiene to avoid catching or spreading the flu, contact your nearest community clinic or the Health Education Division at the Ministry of Health. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health in partnership with the Public Hospitals Authority.
We play just like your kids. We text just like your kids. We learn. We even cook. We take selfies. We have hobbies. And we love sports. In every way, we are just like everyone else and enjoy the same things and live our lives every day, just like you do. So if you happen to meet us, treat us just like everyone else. Because at the end of the day, we're just like you. Living life with Down syndrome is simply living. To learn more about Down syndrome, call 727-2105. This message is brought to you by the Grand Bahama Down Syndrome Society.
Tumblers have become big business for budding entrepreneurs hoping to make a big buck or two in their downtime while on lockdown or under curfew in this pandemic. One of our own has also been tapping into the market and has created a name for herself as one of the best to design them. Take a look.
Well, I take a lot of time to research my craft. I put a lot of time into it, making sure that it looks how it's supposed to look, making sure it feels how it's supposed to feel.
She's a Zedina sales clerk by day, but in her spare time, 27-year-old Arnika Bannister personalizes top-of-the-line tumblers for adults in the comfort of her home. Children are not left out, though, as they too get something crafty and colorful that meets the eye. We sat down with the business owner to talk about her new tumbler business that she tapped into in the midst of this global pandemic.
I came across this website where I can purchase tumblers from, so I said, well, why not order about 5 of them and then see where it goes? So that's how that came about. And the first time I tried it, it was like a complete fail. So I put it down and I was like, well, this ain't for me. And then I went to a store one day where I purchased my crafting items from. And I was talking to the lady there. Her husband actually does it as well. So she told me what to do to get it how it's supposed to look. So I tried it, and the first tumbler I made was this LA Dodgers tumbler right here. So after that, I was like, okay, well, why don't I try the rest? And it just went from there.
Talented Arnika says depending on the design you prefer, tumblers can take about 3 to 5 days to complete, and later revealed some of her creative techniques to get tumbler lovers mesmerized.
What I would do first is that I would sand the tumblers down, wipe them down with alcohol, make sure that there's no grease, oil, nothing on it. And after that, then I would spray paint. If I'm doing for a male, I would just strictly spray paint. If it's for a female, then after I sand and wipe down, then I would spray paint, and then I would glitter and then cover it with the first coat of epoxy and let that dry for about 8 hours. After that's completely dried and cured for 8 hours, I then go back to put the decals on it. After I put the decals on it, I do it with the second coat of epoxy and let that dry for about 8 hours.
But as Halloween and other special holidays creep upon us, Arnika gave us a little taste of what we can expect to see in the hands of her clients during this time.
My Halloween line is picking up, it's growing. Well, you can see here we have Pennywise, and then you have Hocus Pocus, and also Rick and Morty. But I have a few more things coming out for Halloween, and I'm also thinking about my Christmas line. So I'm going to have a few tumblers where you can pre-order for Christmas for a limited time. So that's where I'm headed for the next 2 months.
All the best to you, Arnika. Well, it's time for your Thursday workout session with Natasha Brown.
Come on down, Natasha Brown has got you with the ultimate fitness.
Hi, this is Downtown, and welcome to another dynamic session. Listen, I am so glad that you woke up this morning and you did not give up on yourself. Always remember, the secret to our health lies in our daily routine and what we put in our mouths. Let's get right to this next dynamic workout. So this HIIT workout is strictly cardio and butt. All right, so just start off jogging in place, follow along. Each exercise again, you're gonna do 30 seconds on and take 15 seconds break. Continue jogging in place. Downtown Natasha Brown, taking you closer to becoming your ultimate you.
It's a part of all our lives. ZNS TV is where we go for information, entertainment, and enjoyment. ZNS is there with something for everyone.
Kids, lunch is ready.
ZNS TV, a part of our lives for 40 years.
This weather report is sponsored by Bank of the Bahamas, the bank of solutions.
That's it for us this morning. For the entire team, I'm the Dawn Davis. Make it a great day, everyone.